guys, I'm Alex Shaky, and today I'll be showing you guys how to install a Mychron 5 data logger on your Tony Kart racing cart. My dad will be walking us through, and I will be doing what he says.
All right.
So here,
let's get started. So first you have, go ahead and hold that up.
we have.
Okay, that's the steering wheel mount.
Yep.
Okay, that's what's going to mount to the steering column right there, and hold the steering wheel in the data logger. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that back down. The Mychron 5, unlike the other older Mycrons, requires a special mount on the junior style Tony Kart steering wheel. Okay, this big hole here, or up here, makes it so there's nothing for the Mychron to attach to, like on the old steering wheel.
For cadets.
The cadet steering wheel that had this piece through here. So we're going to set that one aside because we're going to start practicing with this junior steering wheel, so he gets ready to move up to junior soon. And let's get started with the mount.
So here we have.
Okay, so first remember,
Got the steering wheel.
turn it the other way around. There you go. Put your bolts through the holes, line them up. Okay, you keep everything in these little metal trays you get from Harbor Freight. Things stick to them, so if you dump all your stuff, it's all right there. Very handy to have. Okay, now kind of hold your hand over the bolts so you don't lose them. Flip it over. Okay, install that guy there. Okay, now you can go through and install the nuts.
So you have this here.
Okay, back over so they can see it. Put your hand underneath it. Okay, it's fine. Just do one or two at a time. We'll actually stop it and we'll get it wired down. Okay, we'll get all these bolted on and we'll come right back. Okay, so we got our steering wheel all mounted up. Got to make sure you get all those on super tight. And then at the end of the day, when you're all done, you want to take and put on some sort of safety pin. Usually you have to do it by regulation. Sometimes you can double nut those that will satisfy. You have to kind of check with your local track, see what they want you to do. Mychron 5 is attached. Go ahead and grab the, first you want to put on the rubber washer. Okay, that's a vibration dampener. Put that on, and then a 13mm nut. Go ahead and get that on there good and tight. Nope. It's always a 50-50 shot. And these you do want to have pretty tight because you don't want the Mychron flopping around while you're driving when you're trying to look at the data. Which at the same time you don't want to do it so tight that you squish everything. So just get on there so it doesn't move. Okay, give it a good side-to-side wiggle. If it still moves, you got to tighten up a little bit more. Up and down. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so if you notice, so let's pull this up. If you notice, the steering wheel mount we have is angled. One of the first tricks we learned was from Rubens Barrichello, the Formula One driver who lives here in Orlando. And we met him when Alex was really early on driving. Yeah, second day of karting. And he pulled us aside and looked over the cart after he introduced himself, and he said, "Oh, the first thing you got to do is get that." So I'm going to pass on that little nugget of wisdom from him. You'll notice there's a couple holes here. These are for just driver adjustments. For smaller drivers, you can get it a little bit closer. For bigger drivers, you can push it a little bit further away. So for the bolt here, you're going to need a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm open end. Okay. Go ahead and grab those.
So we put it in this one.
Just kind of show them what we're going to do there. And actually, before we mount it up, let's go ahead and mount the wires and whatnot. So you can see an idea what you got to do there. We're going to pull that out. And the next thing we'll talk about is installing all the electronic cables. Okay, so now you've got your Mychron mounted up. What we're going to do is we're going to install the RPM cable. So if you look, 2 little holes to go through. You route one end of the cable up and around, and Alex, go ahead and pull it tight. It can be a little bit harder for smaller kids to do, but that holds it nice and tight. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to talk about is installing your temperature gauge and your lap gauge. This extra port here is for an external pack where you can add additional items from Mychron. We don't necessarily use that. So very important. Temperature has 3 prongs, lap has 4 prongs. You want to be careful, make sure you get the right ones. So you got to look inside there. 3 prongs. There's a little notch on the top as well.
Right there.
Yep, little notch that lines up with the notch here. So it kind of tells you it's in the right position. So go ahead and carefully push that in.
You have it in, then
Okay, tighten up. Don't have to go too tight. Okay, push that out of your way. Grab your lap counter or your lap infrared.
Here.
Okay, it's got 4 prongs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead
Here,
and make sure
4.
it's lined up in the right one. Okay, so you've got all your electric wires kind of ready to go. Now you can go ahead and plan to take it to the cart and put it in the cart. But before you do that, for Alex, he's a little bit smaller. Go ahead and pop the side pod off. It's good to always take that off so you can have easy access to the car. Okay, kind of hold your cables out of the way. Just kind of loop them together. Okay. Get everything aligned. Sometimes you got to kind of block the steering wheel so they don't move. That makes it a lot easier. We're going to align the top hole with our second hole in the steering column, just because that's where we have it, where it works perfect for Alex. Okay, you're going to grab that long bolt, slide it through. Okay, that's a 5mm head. It's got a 10mm nut in the bottom. There we go. There. Okay, let's go ahead and crank that thing on there. Now, while he's doing that, it's super important to get this right. These also have to be, typically they have to be double nutted, or they have to use, again, the safety pins. There's a couple things in the cart you don't want coming off. Steering wheel is one of them, and the brakes is the other. Trust us, we've been there. So, Alex will get that tightened on. And then after that, we'll mount up the wires to the engine and get that all ready to go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is installing the infrared sensor on the nose cone here. So go ahead and pop it in there. It's a little bit tight, so you can just kind of screw it in to get it started. There you go. Okay, this little infrared sensor is attached to the Mychron 5. It's really important to keep that pointed the right direction, especially if you're at an unfamiliar track. You've got to know where the timing stripe is. Many a lap counter or lap sessions have been lost because someone had the Mychron pointed the wrong way. Usually me, yes. I see your mouth hanging open.
I was about to say.
Okay, but for now, since we don't know how it's going to be set up in Palm Beach, we'll just set it that way for now. Okay, it takes a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm open end wrench to get that on there tight. You don't have to crank it on there too awful tight, but that's good. Okay, now we're going to move to the temperature sensor. That's the yellow one on this mini rock engine. Okay, take the 13/16 socket wrench, undo the spark plug. Okay, that's probably good. Go ahead and use your fingers and pop it out. Okay.
Spark plug right there.
Now that sensor, the spark plug is actually going to go through that sensor. So take the spark plug back with you. There you go. Kind of pop it through there. Okay, just set it up in there. Just seats up in there. Okay, just get it finger tight. Okay, got to switch the ratchet. There you go. Okay, not too awful tight. Don't get it on there. You're not on.
Now we are.
There you go. Just there you go. That's all you need. You don't want to get those too tight. Okay. Then we'll worry about getting the cables out of the way later. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is the RPM sensor. I think I'll go ahead and do that if you want to show me doing that. Okay, the RPM cable also has a little plug with a connector to go onto the spark plug cable. So what you kind of do is you kind of set that on there. Actually, I usually take that off first. Take a couple inches, 3 or 4 inches, and I just start wrapping around. I've seen more, I've seen less. I think electrons are electrons, and they don't care how many loops there are, but however many you need to get it sit tight. Push up through one end of the connector, wire it on. I've seen people have connectors at both ends. We just have one for right now. Push it back through, and that's tight. Okay. In this video, we're not going to worry about placement of all the cables and whatnot because we go through our routine, get everything out of the way once we get the motor, everything on. But you want to make sure, no matter what you do, that your cables can turn. Okay. Once you get everything to where the steering wheel can turn, then you'll go through and bunch up all your cables, use zip ties, get them out of the way, make sure they're not going to get snagged on anything. Feet, arms, toes, whatever. All of that can be out. We usually run these cables down. You can see where the old zip ties are, down along the chassis rail. And there we go. You've got yourself a Mychron 5. I don't want to be on camera, but thanks. You got yourself some Mychron 5 on there. And I'm going to hand it back over to Alex for his moment in the sun.
Please like and subscribe.